Hey boys and girls, today I'm making my potato salad and it is really just like a kitchen sink potato salad. It has a bunch of stuff that was either expiring or I'm sorry, on its way to expiring or getting rotten, such as these jalapenos. But I mean, I would use it. I would make the same recipe regardless of whether or not stuff is expiring. We make this all the time for like the 4th of July, barbecues, rib cook-offs. We've had a few rib cook-offs. We'll have to maybe do a YouTube video about that if we decide to do that this year. But really, it's just like everything in my fridge that I think sounds good in a potato salad. So we'll get started off here, and of course salt and pepper, salt and freshly ground black pepper, important. These are my mini pepperonis, and I pre-cook these in the microwave for about 245 prior to that, so I can get all the grease out. And they're more like pepperoni chips, if you will. We use the Costco pre-cooked bacon, and I have about 4, maybe 5. Actually, you know what? I'm not gonna lie, like 6 or 7 pieces of strips of bacon in here that I'll cut down and we'll add to our potato salad. Some green onions, obviously 3 russet potatoes. We'll cut those down. I want to cut them in more uniform shapes so they cook evenly for one. And then actually when I go to pierce it with a fork, I want a little bit of resistance. I don't want them cooked all the way. They'll continue to cook as I start adding stuff. I'll strain them, throw them into a bowl. And like I said, they'll continue to cook, but I still want, I guess, the potato to be as whole as possible. I'll get to that more as we get to that part. Some cojito cheese, and again, just a random mix of cheeses. We had some queso cheese that we had very little of, and then some like taco cheese mix from our big box store that we're almost out of. Some sour cream, a ranch packet, some Dijon mustard, my favorite roasted garlic paste, the rest of some bacon blue cheese that I'm gonna throw in there. So I guess we'll have like 4 or 5 different kinds of cheeses in there. Some mayonnaise, of course, some like a pinch of cayenne pepper. I probably won't use everything that's in there. I know I said that last time for something else that I was making, but literally like a pinch of cayenne pepper. We like to use smoked paprika, onion and garlic powder, about a tablespoon and a half or so of each, about a tablespoon of celery salt, and about a half a tablespoon of white pepper. 4, I guess, stalks of celery. My wife buys the celery hearts, and so I don't know if you still consider those a full stalk or not, but we're gonna use 4 celery stalks, and then like I'd mentioned before, a couple jalapenos that were starting to get a little squishy, and so I'm gonna cut them up and throw them into the potato salad, and then some hard-boiled eggs as well. I'm gonna use about 3 of them. Those are actually cooking right now. Honestly, I didn't want to film it. I'm sure you guys have seen about 1,000 times people hard boiling eggs, but I'm gonna go ahead and clear some of this stuff off so I can actually work. I just wanted to show you everything that was going into this. I'll be back in just a second and we'll start cutting potatoes. So I've cleared some room again so I can operate. One thing I forgot to say as part of one of our ingredients that I'll be adding to my potato salad is fresh dill. We love fresh dill. You know, obviously you can leave any of these ingredients out or add your own special ingredient or whatever else that you like, but my wife and I love fresh dill, and we like it in our potato salad, so I will be chopping some of this up and adding it as well. I went ahead and put all the dairy stuff back in the fridge, so I can operate. I'm gonna get these potatoes chopped up, and I'm not gonna film me chopping up all these potatoes, but again, I want to get these in as close to uniform shapes as possible so they all cook evenly. I just have a garbage bowl here in the sink. And so what I like to do is I like to knob off the ends, cut it down the middle. Sometimes potatoes stick, yikes. I want all my potatoes in somewhat of a uniform shape. And so I'm just gonna actually kind of leave my potatoes on there as a guide for cutting the rest of these. Let's see. I've mentioned this before, I love using Kikuichi knives. They've been around for decades and decades. Really enjoy the Japanese chef knives. Well, that last one, the last couple potatoes didn't get in uniform shape, but it is what it's gonna be. Just roll with it. But for the most part, you do want uniform shapes. So I'm gonna finish chopping these up. And again, I don't think that you guys necessarily need to watch me do all this, especially as potatoes start jumping off the cutting board. So let me finish cutting these up, and I'm gonna get these into boiling water that's already been going right now, and I'll be back in just a second. So my potatoes are done, and they literally cooked about 10 minutes on medium to medium high heat. And as you can see, these are actually probably a little bit overcooked, more so than what I wanted. So that was me just not paying attention. I was doing some cleaning and a couple other things, but we'll see how this turns out. I wasn't gonna do this, but I'm gonna go ahead and add about 4 tablespoons of butter to these as well while they're hot. So the butter melts in and it gets to coat all of our beautiful potatoes here, and maybe a little, well, my cuts aren't precise by any means, and I've always told you guys before that I don't sit there and measure every time I cook. I just kind of throw stuff out there. And then I'm actually gonna go ahead and salt and pepper. I'm not gonna use the rest of my seasonings like the cayenne, the smoked paprika powders and whatnot, but I am gonna go ahead and salt and pepper my potatoes while they're still warm. So that way when I mix with the butter, everything just kind of, well, I wanna season my potatoes early so they have flavor going into the potato salad. I don't wanna over salt my potato salad by any means. And so that's kind of what I'm doing now. And as far as salt, well, the salt that I'm putting on this and the celery salt, that's really all the salt that I'm adding to my potato salad. I figure that so you guys can see that. I figured that the pepperoni, the bacon, and the cheeses, the 5 different cheeses or however many there are in those little blends of, or prepackaged blends, will be salty enough, and I can always adjust after that. Same with, cayenne. If I don't feel like it's spicy enough between the black pepper, the white pepper, the cayenne, and the jalapenos, then I can always add to that. But I want these to cool down pretty quickly. And so what I may do after I mix all this stuff up is throw it in, or throw it outside, because it's still pretty cool outside. We're only in the 50s or 60s right now, so it'll be perfect actually for barbecue. I'm making this actually for game 6 of the Celtics and Bucks tonight, along with some chorizo sausages that I'm gonna grill up here. Maybe I'll show you some of that. And then with my chorizo sausages, I was gonna put cream cheese. We have both. We have just the whipped cream cheese for bagels, and we also have jalapeno cream cheese that I was gonna throw on my chorizo sausages, along with some fresh jalapenos, maybe even some fresh chopped up shallot, and then some sriracha sauce on it. Maybe like a ketchup just for a little bit of sweetness. But that's how we like to eat our hot dogs and sausages. And I think that is fairly similar to like the Seattle dog, they call it, with, I think it's cream cheese. I'm pretty sure it's jalapeno. If it's not jalapeno, then it's green onion, and then sriracha on it. And so I guess fairly similar to that. I like ketchup, so I'm gonna be adding ketchup to mine. But all the butter and the salt and pepper have mixed together. And so, like I said, I want these to cool down. The reason for that being is when I go ahead and chop up my celery and my jalapenos, I don't want those to wilt because the potatoes are still so hot. I want everything to have a nice crunch to it. And so I'm gonna set these outside and come back and put away the butter and a couple other things, start chopping celery and jalapenos, and I'll be back in just a second. My potatoes are cooling right now. Again, we mixed them with some like 4 tablespoons, maybe a little bit more of butter, and then salt and pepper, mix those up. I overcooked them a little bit. I'm hoping that they don't fall to pieces when I go to mix all this up, but I'll do a better job next time. I'm gonna go ahead and get my celery and my jalapenos chopped up, and I might actually throw those back into the fridge a little bit because I want those as cold as possible. Again, I want everything cold when I go to mix it. I don't want big giant clumps of melted cheese in there when I go to add my cheese. I don't want my vegetables, such as my jalapenos and my celery to wilt from the heat of the potatoes. So those may take a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead and chop up my celery and my jalapenos, and like I said, we'll go ahead and put those in the fridge, and then we'll combine everything at the end once everything's kind of cooled down. So like I have mentioned before, just like chopping off the tips of my celery, and as much as I would like to just throw these in a bag and keep them for a week and use them to stuff like a chicken or something like that, or even make gravy, I just don't have any of that planned for the next like 7 meals that we have going, unfortunately. And so I'm just gonna chop off as little as I can and just throw them away. And I do, so let's see, I gotta think about this here. I want some fairly large chunks of celery. Again, I enjoy a really chunky potato salad. So I think I'm just gonna cut these guys in half. And I think that's typically what I do. And so I'll just cut them right down the center of the stalk. And these are all pre-washed. All my jalapenos and my celery are all washed. And get my plate here. And again, I want some fairly large chunks, so yeah, maybe like that, I think. Yeah, that should be good. And again, same with the jalapenos. If I had something that I was gonna, you know, roast in the oven, maybe later in the next 5 meals or so, I'd probably keep these to stuff it with. Unfortunately, I'm not. I ended up cutting the tip off of this jalapeno because it was just a little too soggy for me. Then what I like to do is, so I'm gonna cut these bad boys down the center as well, and I'm not gonna keep the vines or the seeds. Again, I don't want this to be a spicy potato salad. I want my family and myself to be able to taste all the different flavors between the eggs and the pepperoni, the bacon, the different types of cheeses, celery, jalapenos. And so I don't want people burning their mouths out, which is why I'm gonna be real careful when I add in the cayenne pepper there, just to make sure that, you know, it's not too spicy. I did add freshly ground black pepper as well as white pepper, and as you guys know, sometimes white pepper can even be a little more potent than even freshly ground black pepper. And so what I like to do, again, is cut my jalapenos down the middle here, and then very carefully take my paring knife and just cut down the edges of the veins on these babies, and hopefully everything just kind of comes out. I probably should have done that in front of the camera so you guys could see, but that's essentially what I'm doing. And so I'll do this one right here, and then I'll probably clean. So I just like to go down where I see the veins and cut down, and be careful, obviously. My knives are extremely sharp. I don't want to cut myself on camera in front of you guys, because I'm sure I'll hear about it in the comment section. But basically, it just takes out the entire thing, and then I just throw that in the sink, and then just brush down with the back end of my paring knife to get all the seeds and any remaining portions of the vein out. These will probably cut up a little bit smaller, just because, well, I don't know. I mean, our jalapenos haven't been too spicy, and so it may just act more as like a bell pepper type of flavor than an actual spice. And so we'll see. But nevertheless, I'm taking out the seeds and veins. So for these, like I said, I like to shake the seeds out after I've deveined them, as you can see. So then, you know, I think I'm just gonna cut these into 3s. Yeah. There you go. I did leave a little bit of vein in that, but again, it's not gonna kill anybody. There you have it. I'm gonna throw these in the fridge, let them cool down as our potatoes are still cooling. I might even throw the potatoes in the fridge real quick just to help with that process. But I'm gonna get these in the fridge, and yeah. I believe our potatoes are cool enough that we can start adding things to these potatoes to get them nice and yummy. I'm gonna add my sauces in first to help, again, with that cooling process. I don't wanna add my cheese in or my vegetables in just yet, because I don't want those to melt and become one giant cluster of fucking melted cheese. And then we'll add in our eggs and maybe dice up some bacon here in just a second. But first things first, I'm gonna go ahead and give it a couple good scoops of mayonnaise real quick. And again, I don't have the measurements. I would say honestly maybe about 1.5 cups of mayonnaise, and I don't want a dry potato salad. I want it really creamy, and so I'm gonna add in about 1.5 cups or so of mayonnaise. Get that guy out of there. And then a good squeeze of Dijon mustard. About so. Again, if I would have to say, maybe a couple tablespoons of mustard. But one thing for sure, you don't want an overpowering mustard taste with your potato salad. A good scoop of sour cream. And even look, I hope that this is the oldest one. The rest of this bacon blue cheese. A squeeze of roasted garlic paste. Yeah, that'll be good. Because I'm going to be adding onion powder as well as garlic powder, which I will do now actually. And so I'm going to go ahead and add our onion garlic powder, our celery salt, and our white pepper. And then our smoked paprika and our cayenne. Like I said, I'm going to be real careful with that cayenne because I don't want to make it too spicy. And I can always add, I guess, to it later if I don't feel there is enough spice. But I'm going to add all the smoked paprika. And then our pack of ranch seasoning. And with the eggs, just take our egg slicer. And I've already taken the liberty to peel these. I didn't think that you guys wanted to watch me peel them, but I go 2 ways. Horizontal and then vertical, and then just dump it right into the potato salad. Now I'm gonna go ahead and add my green onion too. And just mix. As I mentioned before, we like fresh dill in our potato salad. It just adds. And so I'm just gonna take as many of these little sprigs off of the stems. And again, I don't need to chop these by any means. I'm just gonna give it a couple go-throughs with my knife here. And literally, that is it. So go ahead and add that to our potato salad. And I know, again, this is why I call it like the kitchen sink potato salad, because like everything freaking goes in this thing. And then I'm gonna give this bacon a little, actually, you know what? I think it's crispy enough. Again, this is the pre-cooked Costco bacon. We like it, it's easy for the kids in the morning just to heat up in the microwave real quick. We just heat it up on paper towels for about 1:20 or so. But it's great. These guys actually prefer this type of bacon over real bacon, which is heartbreaking to me. But I think that this is crispy enough that I can just crumble this into our potato salad. And yeah, I'm using my hands. But again, you guys aren't eating this, I am. Perfect. And again, a little bit unorthodox, but we have our mini pepperonis. Again, this is like a half a bag that I just wanted to get out of the fridge real quick. I microwaved it for about 2 minutes and 45 seconds. We don't ever microwave mini pepperonis longer than 3 minutes. When I make like Detroit style pizza, I'll cook them for like 2 minutes or so because I want a lot of that grease out of it, because Detroit style pizza is extremely greasy with all the grease you add to the pan, and then the cheese and the pepperoni and everything else. To our nachos, we did the full 3 minutes to get these ultimately like pepperoni chips. We cook mini pepperonis like this just to have as a snack with like some nuts and cheese and things like that. It goes great with it, and you know, get like all this the greasiness of standard pepperoni. We have made like charcuterie boards with like grapes, cheeses, pickles, you know, olives, and then some cooked pepperoni as well as some fresh pepperoni, because I do love like the larger sliced sandwich pepperoni to eat. But I'm gonna go ahead and add those in, and then I'm not gonna add all this cheese. I will of the yellow cheese, but maybe not all the cojito cheese. We'll see how that goes. So I'll add about half of the cojito cheese to it. And I feel good about being able to add our vegetables to it. Again, I didn't want to add those right off the bat because I did not want those to get wilty. Or to wilt. Let's see, so move my knife and get this baby up on the cutting board. And again, we're just mixing. And if I have to add in, you know, like a little bit more like blue cheese or mayonnaise or something like that, or even sour cream probably will be the one that I add in. And I can just smell the fresh dill, the celery, the jalapenos, the bacon, even the pepperoni I can smell in here. I'm gonna add just a little bit more sour cream to this. I don't want the soupy by any means, but I definitely want it a little bit, my wife hates this word, but a little more moist. All right, that is looking delicious. So I'm gonna add in a little bit more freshly ground black pepper. Or maybe a lot, because I love fresh ground black pepper. And honestly, I think I'm gonna add in a little bit more mayonnaise. So I guess at the end of the day, maybe like closer to 2 cups of mayonnaise. But I mean, you can see when you're mixing everything together, the consistency that you want. So you either want it a little bit creamier or a little bit drier, totally your preference. This is just the way that we like it. I know this is gross, but I'm actually gonna use my mixing spatula to taste this. Hopefully you can hear the crunch of the celery and the jalapeno. This is perfectly seasoned. I'm not gonna add or change anything. I'm gonna let this sit in the fridge. Excuse me. I'm gonna let this sit in the fridge for a little bit and let all those flavors kind of come together. Let this cool down and let it sit. And that'll be the true test on whether or not I actually need to add in more mayonnaise or sour cream. Right now, this is absolutely perfect. I can taste the cojito cheese, but it's not overpowering. Cojito cheese has a really strong flavor, and then like the queso cheese blend mix and the taco nacho cheese blend mix are not as robust in flavor, I should say. And so, I mean, you still get the cheesiness, the bacon, the pepperoni is awesome, the dill is awesome, and I can taste the roasted garlic in that as well. The seasoning spot on. So get this in the fridge, get it in a bowl that I want to serve out of, and I'm gonna grill up some chorizo sausages, or some chorizos here in a little bit, and some hot dogs for my boys, and then we'll kind of put everything together. Alrighty, so I have our chorizos on and hot dogs on for the kids, and we are, kids have football practice and everything else, but we are grilling some chorizos and hot dogs. These look like they're gonna turn out fantastic, so we'll see. These things are looking awesome, hot dogs and chorizos. And you can hear them just sizzling away. And all these are for our kids and friends, and we have like 5 kids over here getting ready to feed them for football and whatnot. Yeah, everything looks delicious. Alrighty, so this is the final product. You can see I got a little heavy-handed with the paprika on that, and we have our chorizo sausages with shallot, jalapeno cream cheese, and a strip of ketchup, and of course a glass of whiskey.